You know you want to get an epidural, but one of your worst nightmares is the fact that you might end up asking for it too late. Today, we're going to talk about when is too late and what to think about as you are asking for your epidural while you are in labor. Now, here is a fun fact that not a lot of people know, and it is that I recommend a birth class that includes some natural pain management, even if you're planning on an epidural. Natural pain management can be helpful when you're in early labor before you get that epidural, but it can also be helpful during pregnancy when you get things like ligament pains. So the more you relax into a lot of the pains of pregnancy, the easier they go away. And so learning those natural pain management techniques can be really helpful. I'm going to link the birth class that I recommend down below so you guys can check it out. And yes, it includes a natural pain management section, inductions, epidurals, C-sections, and I think it's so important to know about all of those things because they could be an option for you. And if you're like, Hillary, it's too late, that class actually only takes 3 hours. So again, I'll link it down below. Now, one of the most common things people search for online is that 7 centimeters, is that too late to get an epidural? And a lot of times 7 centimeters is a point where you want to really start thinking about it if you are in one section of pregnancy. So if it is your first baby, it is actually really rarely ever too late to get the epidural. Even during pushing, especially if baby is still kind of high in your pelvis, you can get an epidural during that point in time. However, most people feel like when they're able to start pushing, the pains start to feel a little bit better as they're able to push against the pains rather than needing to relax into them to help their cervix open up. That is because on your first baby, you on average have about 2 hours of pushing time ahead of you. I'm at least thinking you have an hour of pushing time ahead of you. So even if you're close to complete and you decide you want to get an epidural, I can help you get that epidural most often. Now, sometimes the epidural helps people relax and things go very quickly, and so it isn't as effective as if you had gotten it earlier, but we can try and make it work. Now, pro tip, a lot of times as people get right into that thick part of transition, they just want something to take away the pain, even though the nurse knows that this is a very brief period of time, and once they're able to start pushing, they're going to feel a lot better. So that is a good time to have a conversation with your nurse about if they feel like labor and this intense pain is going to be a long time, or if they think it'll be a short time. Either way, your nurse can start initiating the things that they need for the epidural. We need to give you an IV fluid bolus. We need a page anesthesia. They need to be not in another room to come into your room. So they can be initiating those things if you think you might want an epidural. And then if they get in the room and you're like, no, this is only 10 more minutes, I can make it, then you can make that choice at the time. So first baby, 7 centimeters, you got time to get an epidural. Get it, enjoy it. Second baby, second plus baby. And, more babies probably happens even faster, although it really is second plus babies. You have a lot less time of pushing. Now, here is my dilation chart. And those first 5 centimeters go pretty much the same if it's your first baby or second baby. But those last few centimeters actually go quicker if you've already had a baby. Your cervix is already open once, your body is used to this. So once you get into a good labor pattern, a lot of times once we get past 5 or 6 centimeters, things cruise much quicker if it is your second plus baby. So if it's your second baby and you're getting to 7 centimeters, it really is a time to decide if you want the epidural or if you think you can make it on your own. Again, either way, the nurse can always initiate your epidural request and kind of see how long those things take. Sometimes there's a lineup of people who want epidurals, and so that can affect how soon you get it or things like that. Or sometimes we have to call anesthesia from home, or they're in a C-section and that delays how quickly they can come to your room. But you can always ask for the epidural whenever you want it. Honestly, if it was your second baby and you were 7 centimeters and I thought you were going quickly, I would still initiate the process to get the epidural just to see if we could make it happen. But, it may not end up happening. And I think it's important for you to have that information as you go into labor so that you're able to make good decisions for yourself during your labor. Editor Hillary here. I just wanted to say to you that, even if you're 8 centimeters and it's your second baby and you really want an epidural, your nurse should be initiating that process to start the epidural. Does it mean you're going to get the epidural? No. There's so many factors. Other people in front of you, how long anesthesia can get there, how long it takes the bolus, your IV fluids, how long, how much time you have before baby's born. But we should be willing to initiate the process. But you also need to know that you may not end up getting it because of those different varying factors. And I think it's really important to know that the later you are in your labor process, sometimes the epidural just doesn't have the chance to catch up before the baby is born. I actually have a whole video on what to do if your epidural doesn't work, because I think a lot of people don't know that that's an option. I'll link that one down below as well. I love that you are starting to decide like how you're going to make choices during your labor and delivery process. I think that that is so important. I actually have a whole video on when is the best time to get an epidural, what the studies show. So I'm going to link it up above. Thanks for joining us here on The Pregnancy Nurse, where we get you prepared, not scared, for your upcoming hospital birth.